Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, and otherworldly and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, creepinitrealshow.com.
Hello, Moni.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited because I am going to see my first ever snowfall for sure this week.
What? Where?
We are going to a place, if you're familiar, you will not know it just because it's nowhere, but if you're familiar with Kern County, where Bakersfield is located, about an hour outside of that is a place called Tehachapi. It's a real up-and-coming place for young retirees kind of thing to go up and kind of be away from it all, but also have access to really everything. And it's going to be snowing, 100% chance of snow starting tomorrow.
Well, congratulations on your first snow.
And driving through it, I'm nervous. I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Awesome. Well, if anybody is a first-time listener, then I will introduce myself. I am Kristi, and this is the Creepin' It Real Show. We are doing a bunch of crazy, weird, paranormal, scary stories for your Christmas traveling needs while you're on those dark roads and driving down
the snowy roads.
And you see those shadows or hear a sound or look in your rearview mirror and you think you see eyes. Welcome to the scary. It's going to be fun. I am excited.
Bring your tinfoil hats, y'all.
Of course, I build it all up, and the first stories are actually cute, wholesome pet spirit stories. So
I just let off with a non-paranormal snow story, so I'm ready for the reviews. Yes,
yes. So anybody who's listening to this right now, you have time traveled backwards a hair. It is a couple of days before Thanksgiving. It is. Yeah, Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We are recording these in arrears due to hectic schedules, and I am having a very non-serious surgery in December, and so we are completely out for 3 weeks. So we're doing all these in advance. So while we're talking, if we mention a certain holiday that is already not a holiday, it's past, and you're concentrating on Christmas.
It's because you've time traveled. That's why
you have absolutely gone into a wormhole, or you have hit a new dimension, and it's Thanksgiving again. Boom! How about that?
I like it. Mic drop.
So, Moni, would you like to start us off on, we're going to start off with they're not scary, they're just wholesome, somewhat nice stories about pets or people coming back that are good feels, the good feels ones first.
Good feels. I will do the first two, actually, but I want some cheesy Hallmark movie music behind me since we're doing the sweet stuff.
I'll do my best. I'll add that in during the editing, and you will have your cheesy Hallmark music.
So this is someone writing this. This is not my voice, but I don't care if you believe me, but this is 100% true. My cat got run over by a car and instantly died. I missed her and I was devastated. That night I dreamed of her wandering her usual places and looking confused that nobody would interact with her. I woke up uneasy. I felt like she was unable to pass on, and it was my fault. She loved her collar, and I took it off her before we buried her so that she could be free. I felt I should not have done that and debated digging her up and putting the collar back on, but my parents told me that I was nuts. So I had another dream. This time I saw my granddad, who had been dead for several years by then, sitting on a rocking chair by the fireplace. Suddenly he stood up and walked away. The scene changed to him picking my cat up and her curling up against him as they walked on. They have never met in real life. I got her later after he had died, but the beautiful room was a fireplace, must have been his slice of heaven. And he took her there because he knew that she was lost. I hope they are in that rocking chair by the fire, gossiping about me, because I like to think that animals can talk in heaven.
Oh, see. And the rest of these animal stories are people chiming in with their own stories that they experienced about pets and loved ones. So I just wanted to include them too. It's very important.
Nice.
So you're going to read?
I got you.
Sure,
yeah. takes a swig of wine, and
I'm taking one too. Thanks.
As a preteen in the 1970s, I went to Six Flags with my family, everyone except my oldest sister, because she was at work. So midday, I saw our poodle, Charlie, run right off in front of us and then disappear in the middle of the park by the Monster Plantation ride. Our dog was striking and has a unique look. He had a bright blue bejeweled collar, and his coat's coloring looked like his ears had been dipped in auburn paint. Ooh, that's such a beautiful description. Mm-hmm. Of course, Charlie has not come to the amusement park with us and was not really there. So I was weirded out and turned to my family members. Did you just see that? Charlie just ran in front of us. But they laughed and they thought that I was joking. Long story short, when we got home that night, we had some bad news. Charlie had gotten out when my sister was leaving for work and had run straight into traffic, was hit, and killed. The timing was around the time that I saw the vision. My dad had a dream about his father. My grandpa had passed away, and my dad, being an immigrant, couldn't go to say his goodbyes, and this crushed him. His beard started growing in, and I don't think he really slept that whole year. My dad woke up this one morning telling us about a dream he had. It took place outside his home in Mexico. He was standing outside and heard a car pulling out of the driveway. It was a black truck covered in dirt, but he saw his father driving it. He pulled up next to my dad, so Grandpa pulled up next to my dad and told him that he was okay, that he forgave my father for not being able to say goodbye, and that now was his chance to say it. My grandpa was his hero. I think he got the closure he needed, but this story was so wholesome.
Oh, it was. People having chances to say goodbye or seeing somebody one last time.
Oh, I read 2 different stories without even breaking a sweat. Sorry.
That's okay. It's my fault. So I put together this document. So when you see us kind of messed up,
who's driving this flying
who's
umbrella
got
anyway?
What? Yeah. And I will say right now that these comments are from just normal run-of-your-mills people from Twitter or from Reddit or wherever. And I just copied it word for word. So you're going to hear probably a little bit of grammar problems, or some of these people are not in our country and they're writing in English, which, hello, I couldn't do. So, I mean, I can write English, but I couldn't write in another language. You know, I couldn't even speak in another language. So
I can't even speak in English.
Right? I'm sitting over here fumbling over my own words, and these people are writing in a language that is not their main language. So I respect that hardcore. So just giving you guys a heads up, if we're kind of fumbling around, that's what's going on here. So I'm going to talk about another one that is another pet one, and that we'll finish up our little wholesome pet story. It's a quick one. When my cat died a year after my mom passed away, I had a dream where she walked through our house's gate, called him, and then they both just walked away. That dream made me feel a lot better about his death. He was with us for 14 years, so it was nice to know that they are both now keeping each other company.
Aww.
So I want to say really quick what happened to me after my dog Lola died. She was one of the greats. I guess all pets are one of the greats, but her and I had a really special connection. She was kind of a free spirit and a wanderer, just like me. And I respected her, and she loved the hell out of me. And she was a golden/collie, and she was just beautiful. She lived to be 16, and a couple of years ago, we had to finally put her down because it was time. I was devastated. I slept with her collar for 2 weeks under my pillow. I was crying every night. I just did not know what to do with myself. And then one night I was asleep, and when you're asleep, it's like almost like you have a 360 vision, like you can see all around you. Not necessarily yourself, but like you kind of have like this vision of like seeing all around you. Like your 2 eyeballs can't see except for where your head turns. But in your dreams, you can see a lot more than that. Mm-hmm. So I was laying down and hovering over long grass, and I was like floating on top of the grass, and I could see the grass moving underneath me. And I was going towards this huge tree, and the sky and the clouds were moving rapidly. Like you've seen like those time-lapse videos of clouds moving really quickly.
Yeah.
It was like super, super blue sky with these clouds intermittently moving really fast. and I could see this tree like coming up in front of me, and it was this huge tree. And I get to like the base of the tree, and I start to rise up into the tree, and I'm like in the branches, and the wind's blowing, and I look down on the grass. You can see the grass kind of blowing in the wind. And I see Lola standing down on the ground in the grass, and she's looking up at me and like almost like smiling and wagging her tail. And she was just like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like it was like the most vivid, incredible, heart-wrenching, heartwarming, happy dream
That's beautiful.
I woke up and I was like, she just needed to tell me so I could like move on. Like I was so upset about it. And when that happened, it was like this peace came over me, and I woke up and I felt like I have just, okay, she's okay. Whether that's my subconscious being like, can we create something for this bitch so she can move on? Or Lola did in fact come and tell me, hey, I'm cool. You don't have to, because I also had this weird guilt. I had never put a dog down before. And I held on to her. I held on to her until it was, I don't know if anybody's held on to a dog so long that there are things that happen to them where you're like, yeah, it's time. And for her own dignity, I'm not going to say what they are, but I look back and I'm like, yeah, I did way too long for her. And I think it was kind of like her just trying to alleviate my guilt of it's okay. I'm fine. Like you did the right thing and don't feel bad, because I was living with horrible guilt, questioning it. Like she helped me through my worst times in my whole life. And here I am, like, I felt like I abandoned her in her worst times.
Oh,
so it was just really hard, but doggies are
angels. You're going to make
us
all cry,
I
Kristi.
know, but now I have an amazing dog who I truly believe Lola sent to me. It's like we order out of a catalog, because when we were talking about getting a new dog, it was like, she's got to do this. She's got to do this. We got to have a dog that does this. She does every single thing that we had in our pipe dreams and more. She's amazing. So I'm like, yep, Lola's still got my back. So we're going to move.
Awesome.
I know. Are we all done talking about the happy stuff and get ready to get into the really
wipe your tears,
stuff?
Take another swig and move along.
All right. I will take another swig. And then now we're going to get into some really weird shit. These people are rambling and kind of like really in freaked out stage. Sometimes they're like, I really don't even know what to say. This really actually happened. So here we are. I've never really visited this sub before. This is a Reddit story, but I wanted to share this story with someone. This is a long one, so I apologize, but it's good enough to share. I really can't find a reasonable explanation for what happened that night. It was just a strange and alarming experience. This happened a few months ago. My friend had heard that the northern lights might be visible in our area and asked if I wanted to go for a drive out in the country to see if we could catch a glimpse. So we headed out after dark and drove for a few hours, just searching for a good vantage point. After a while, we started to give up on seeing the lights. My friend realized that we were close to her hometown and noted that she had been wanting to visit the local cemetery to find the graves of some of her distant relatives. It was a clear, warm night, and we were both a little disappointed that we didn't get to see the lights. We both wanted to make the trip worthwhile, so we agreed to swing by the cemetery. We found the graves, took some photos, and just wandered around for a little while. My friend was leading the way, using the flashlight on her phone to light the path and ensure that we didn't accidentally step on any of the graves. I had been feeling increasingly anxious since we arrived, which struck me as odd. I have done several cemetery seriation projects as an archaeologist and don't normally feel nervous in cemeteries, even at night. In fact, I usually find that cemeteries are pretty peaceful and calming. But I felt really strange in that cemetery and found myself frequently spinning around because I felt like someone was standing behind me. Still, I just chalked it up to general anxiety and tried not to dwell on it. One of the problems with having an anxiety disorder is that it's sometimes hard to tell when your nervousness is justified. Even in retrospect, okay, now girl, you got dogs barking to scare me. Anyway.
Sorry.
I don't know if my anxiety was just in my head or if it was related to what happened next. After wandering for a while, we realized it was approaching 1 a.m. and that we should probably get back home. We headed toward the car. The car was in sight, and my friend was a few yards ahead of me when it happened. I suddenly got that nervous feeling again and thought I had heard someone running up behind me. I was starting to turn my head and look back when I felt something collide with my back, right between my shoulder blades. There was a weight behind it, as if someone had actually hurtled into me. The impact was so forceful that I was thrown forward and fell flat on my face. As I scrambled to get back up, I felt the weight hitting me in the shoulders again and was shoved back down again. I glanced up to see my friend running toward me. She had also heard someone running up to us and heard my initial fall and had turned just in time to see me being pushed back down. She would later tell me that she had seen my hoodie flattening against my back and shifting as if someone had been pressing their hands against my shoulders. She grabbed my arm to pull me up just as the weight disappeared, and we both bolted to the car, jumping in and instinctively locking the doors. She wasted no time starting the engine and then hastily peeled out of the driveway as soon as we hit the road. We sped away from there. We drove for several minutes without saying a word. I think we were both stunned and more than anything confused. She finally glanced at me and said, "What the hell just happened?"
Damn.
I didn't quite know how to answer that. I told her that someone had shoved me to the ground, and she said, "I know, I saw, but what was it? There was nothing there." We tried to come up with a rational explanation, but none of them made any sense. Had someone ambushed me and then bolted? Definitely not. We would have seen them. Had I tripped? No, I had definitely felt something pushing me, and my friend had seen me being shoved back down. It had been the wind? Not possible. There hadn't been so much as a breeze that night, and if there had been some freak gust of wind, it would have hit my friend too. Perhaps an animal had attacked me, but that didn't seem possible either. Or there were no local animals large enough, strong enough, and stealthy enough to topple a full-grown human without being seen. I have been in full view of my friend, illuminated by her flashlight during the second fall, and the weight had remained at my shoulders even as she was coming right up to me. She should have been able to see whatever had been pushing me, but there was nothing. We just couldn't explain it. Whatever had pushed me twice, it hadn't been visible to us.
Damn.
So these next stories I compiled for Yardley, Moni, if you want to read these. Yardley's told us a couple of times about his experience with sleep paralysis and the black top hat man.
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
There is a bunch.
Well, too bad we don't have someone who's done it, who's had it before.
Yeah,
but
but that's okay.
And I don't have his voice either, but we'll do our best. Black top hat man. For reference, I'm now 20 years old and my younger sister is 16. We grew up in a small town in western part of Maryland. I know now that the entire town is most likely in a ley line.
Ley line.
I don't know what ley line. What is
ley
that?
Lines. Ley lines are energy lines across the globe, and it seems like Stonehenge is on a ley line.
Oh, okay. Ley line. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't count that to be 100% true. What I do know for sure is that the town we grew up in is very, very weird, to say the least. Up until the age of 8, we lived in one house a few streets over from where my parents now live. I don't remember much from this house, other than sometimes we're seeing a large shadow across doorways. As a kid, I also had an imaginary friend, Sarah. Sarah was a blonde with green eyes and a white and blue Victorian dress and couldn't have been older than 11. When we moved into the new house, things started getting progressively worse. Other than the fact that our new house was haunted by several spirits and had a demon in the basement, more on that in another post.
Oops, I didn't take that out. Sorry.
I started seeing a shadowy figure following me more and more, and I dubbed him the Top Hat Man. He never did anything other than follow and watch me. Yeah, well, that's pretty something. Mm-hmm. Yet he terrified me. I can still picture him in my mind to this day in the corner of my bedroom. But whenever I saw this spirit, Sarah was sure to follow, and he would leave as soon as she appeared. So, boy, maybe she was a good spirit for you. It got to its worst around 6th grade, and the last time I remember seeing both apparitions, I was doing homework in the dining room, and the Top Hat Man was watching me from across the living room. Sarah, acting almost like a guard dog, was sitting on the end of the couch, a barrier between me and this evil spirit. But this time he did something. He did do something. He opened his eyes. Dark red eyes stared at me and he started to silently come towards where I was. But Sarah stood up and put her hand up, and when they touched, poof, they were both gone. Boy, that's fucked up. That was the end of it for me, but a few years later, I walked into my sister's room and she looked terrified. At the time, I was 15 and she was 11. I eventually got the truth out of her, and she explained to me how she kept seeing a shadowy man in a top hat and a little girl called Sarah. For months, she would come up to me in my room, the kitchen, and even in at my grandmother's house once, crying and saying that he was watching her. Around that time, we also got to our house blessed due to the demonic activity, and she never brought it up again after that happened. I don't know if that helped, but I think we were both too scared to talk about it. I really wish that at the end, I wish that was the end, but among many friends in high school and middle school, at sleepovers, hangouts, lunches, I had opportunities to share ghost stories as teens will do. My sister and I aren't the only ones with that same experience. A total of 10 other kids my age had the same exact thing happen to them. A tall shadow figure in a top hat with a blonde little girl named Sarah. Everyone saying the same thing. They stopped seeing them both around the age of 11 or 12 years old. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why. It's truly unexplainable. How are all these kids seeing the exact same thing? Why was this happening in my town? Does it happen elsewhere? If someone or anyone has any answers, I would love to know.
So the other, I believe I put in here, yes. So the others are in response to this. By the way, so there were over 50 comments of people who also see hat men. But it's either a top hat or a fedora. It interchanges. Like some people have seen both, like a man wearing a top hat or a fedora, or both. Sometimes it's in groups of several top hats, like men or by themselves.
I feel like I've seen something like that online, a top hat man that's not quite a skeleton, but is all white in nature and has kind of that red eye thing going.
Mm-hmm. There is a documentary about the top hat men too. Actually, people were talking about it in this thread. And actually somebody mentions it. So this person, do you want here, read the
Sure.
The rest of until you get to 50 plus comments. That's a couple of people chiming in that I included. But again, over 50 comments of people saying they've seen the top hat man. It was nuts.
Nice. So we recently moved into a rental. My 6-year-old son had been terrified living there, and I experienced things as well. It started not long after we moved that I would hear footsteps at night that were loud and even with the fan on. I thought that I was going crazy. Then I had my first demonic nightmare, and I had never had a nightmare before. And then my son mentioned that he saw a tall, dark figure with no eyes who was wearing a hat. He says he sees him peeking at him from our hallway or watching him. He says he also hears the footsteps. I can't wait to get out of this house. What is happening with everyone seeing this, especially kids? And someone else commented, I've heard that many people who experience sleep paralysis also always see a shadowy man with a top hat. Same phenomena all over the world. There was a documentary on Netflix about it. Boy, I wish I had the name of that. That's me speaking,
It's called The Nightmare.
Oh, okay. I have seen it.
I read it.
Although it sounds like, what's that?
I didn't know. Yeah, I read that when I was reading the comments, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. It sounds like you're awake when you see him. It has always intrigued me that so many people see the same figure. Someone else commented, I saw him in the upstairs lounge of my house growing up and in the laneway across the road during the daytime. I didn't know this was a thing until I read this thread. And as Kristi mentioned, 50 plus comments more of people all having seen the Hat Man, either a top hat or a fedora, in groups or by itself.
So as Yardley had talked about, because he's kind of intrigued by this topic, that he saw groups of men in top hats, black shadow outside his window when he was having sleep paralysis one time. I find that fascinating. It's not like, and there were several people saying that they have seen a man in a top hat with sleep paralysis. What's up with that?
I don't know. That's creepy as shit, though.
I mean, okay, so sleep paralysis, if it's like a neurological or whatever situation going on in your body, what triggers every person to see either an old hat, like an old scary lady, or men in top hats? That just like is so bizarre. I don't get it.
That is, and I had thought sleep paralysis was always with the old hag syndrome, and you see the woman. So I wasn't aware that the top hat man was part of sleep paralysis. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in this thread, which I didn't include, saw the man not while they weren't asleep. They've seen a man with a top hat or a fedora, but black, like a black shadow. And, so they were kind of confused about people talking about the documentary about the sleep paralysis. So it was like worlds colliding. People that had seen the top hat man in like while they were awake, talking to people who had seen the top hat man while they were asleep, and then talking about that documentary about the top hat man during sleep paralysis. So it was like, people were like, what? I didn't know he was also like a sleep paralysis character. Like people were crazy. It was crazy watching all the conversations, and we could probably do a whole episode on it. It was bizarre reading them, just knowing what Yardley has testimonied to. Testimonied, whatever. Testimonied. So it was really interesting just having somebody that we know that's had this experience and reading all these people who describe almost the exact same thing. So, yeah. Anyway, next we're going to move on to a little bit of I don't know if you call this a glitch in the matrix or what do you call that? Where it's, we believe something to be true.
The butterfly effect?
Not the butterfly effect. Mandela effect. Thank you. People get a lot of those confused. I know the Mandela effect is officially classified as a group of people that believe something that others believe didn't happen. But a lot of people have pulled that type of thing into personal experiences too, and call Mandela effects in their own personal lives, even though it's not like a group thing. I think that's fair. It's the same thing. You remember something that the people around you don't remember. Yeah. So I think like they call it Mandela effect for groups because it validates it when it's more people, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, here's this person talking about their dog. I had a dog when I was a kid. He was a black shepherd type breed named Cam. Okay. Anywho,
I don't even. Okay.
I don't know how that goes, but
we're not going there.
He says his name several times, so this is going to be fun. I think he does. Maybe that's the Mandela effect. Anyway, I remember walking this dog, playing with him, feeding him, and even taking him to the vet. He often slept in my room, chewed on my stuffed animals, and would sometimes wake me up with his snoring. One time he bit me real hard on the ankle after I tried to break up a fight with another dog. It left a pretty big scar. It needed stitches and a shot afterwards. Countless memories for years and years. Much later on, I would try to recount some of these memories with other members of my family, and not a single person knew of this dog. Our family never even owned a dog. We were a cat family. That's what they were saying. None of our neighbors or friends owned a dog fitting the description. I couldn't believe it at first and went searching for proof, pictures, old toys, anything. I found nothing, not a thing, even though I remember taking pictures with this dog. Not just me, but with the rest of the family. There were no toys. Even the stuffed animals he used to chew on didn't exist, even though I actually have separate memories about some of those plushies as well. The one thing I do still have is the scar on my ankle. My mom, as most moms are, was always well aware of any new injuries and knows every story behind every scar I ever got until a certain age. But she has no memory of the scar, and it's still a mystery to her today. I can't explain it. The memories of my dog, Cam, are still very real, but there is no proof he ever existed.
That's messed up.
I don't believe he was imaginary. Imaginary friends weren't really my thing as a kid, and to be honest, I always suspected the dog liked my sister more than me. What kid imagines a friendship like that? Aw, I've heard people say maybe the dog died at some point and my family lied about it to protect me, but I'm convinced that's not the case. Sparing feelings isn't really a thing in our family, and they know how much this whole thing messes me up. Yeah, no shit. Word, dude. Got that one going. I remember exactly what Calm looked like. The sound of him barking, the color of his eyes, the hanging tip of his right ear, the shine of his fur after I brushed him. I remember the time we took him to the vet because of a busted nose after fighting our cat. And I remember dressing him up on my 8th birthday to match my own outfit. I remember taking him to my room to sleep next to me after I watched a scary movie. And I remember my sister once shaving his tail and legs because she wanted him to turn him into a poodle. But I don't remember what happened to him. I don't remember him dying. I don't even remember missing him at some point. Just kind of forgot. It makes me sad. If Calm was never real, where did all those memories come from? Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty, craziness.
You want to read about the haunted car?
Maybe that person needs a therapist. Maybe that person needs hypnosis. I don't know, man.
Maybe he just jumped into a parallel universe.
Maybe he didn't wear his tinfoil hat tight enough.
That sucks. You always put an extra pin in your top foil hat, in your tinfoil hat. Almost said top hat.
Your tinfoil, oh God, creepy. So
now we have to make top hats with tinfoil.
Tinfoil top hats. We're taking them back from the creepy dude. That's what we're doing. All right. So but not me, but like this person, has a 1952 Chevrolet Skyline Deluxe, and I think it is haunted. I bought it from an old man out of a newspaper ad when I was just a teenager, and it was already over 40 years old then. It was in a rough state, and I bought it, and I put a lot of work into restoring it myself. Good for you. That's cool. One day when I was driving into town, I was about to cross the highway, but my windows were foggy, and in an old car, that can be a hassle to deal with. I was about to cross when the engine stalled out, and the car died right as I pushed my foot down on the pedal, and a tractor whizzed by 2 seconds later. I don't know if the car or some spirit was inhabiting it. I always get the feeling that I'm being watched while driving or even around it. Sometimes cats get into the garage and jump up into it, making footprints on the wax paint job. The past decade, I have found 3 dead cats in my garage near or around the car that have no visible injuries. So that car doesn't like you to mess with it, but it won't let you mess with its owner either, which is nice.
Mm-mm.
And here's another story. I hadn't even left the house that day. I was home alone. I only live with one other person. I was not on any prescription medication, marijuana, stimulants, or any type of drug. 100% sober. Everything was normal. Okay, disclaimers. I had my iPhone and I was upstairs in my room. I had set it down on top of my blue bag. Went downstairs to get on my laptop and said to myself, I forgot my phone after I had settled down for a few minutes. So went back upstairs, and absolutely no doubt because I know I had just put the phone on top of my bag, but it wasn't there. I paused for a minute because I've never lost anything that fast before. Of course, I searched the bag and nothing came up, and I went downstairs and even spent some time on an emergency non-contract phone. I don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. So I called the number for the missing iPhone. So it looks like they had a prepaid phone of some kind and used it to call the number for the iPhone so that they could hear it ring. And after a few rings, it answered, and someone said hello in a voice completely identical, exactly like my own. That's messed up. Mm-hmm. Paused for a couple seconds in disbelief, and then I hung up the phone, automatically thinking that somebody was in my house. I searched every room of the house. That's always a scary moment, and looked everywhere. I didn't even want to call the police because who was going to believe a story like that? Nobody believes my story now. People just think that I still can't find the phone. I don't know what to say. It's the weirdest event that has ever occurred to me in my life. I even told my roommate about it when she came home, and we called it. She was standing right there. I put it on speaker, and the same thing happened. A voice answered that sounded just like mine. But then a few seconds later, it said, this call has been disconnected. She doesn't accept it. She thinks or says it's some kind of bot that malfunctioned or something from an app, or that I'm trying to play a joke on her.
How crazy is that? Fuck me up.
That's freaky deaky, yo.
No, thank you. You want me to take this one?
Sure.
Oh, this is a Black-Eyed Kids story. These are like my favorite. I love me some Black-Eyed Kids stories. Hey, if anybody has a good one that's listening or is going to experience one on these holiday travels, could be a Christmas elf, could be a Black-Eyed Kid. Yo, don't let them in your house. I'm telling you right now. Anywho.
You don't know.
All right. So this person, this one I think is from Twitter. So I totally forgot about this happening until my mom brought it up at dinner tonight. And now it's 9:30 at night and I'm scared as hell all over again. Oh, shit. This was back in high school, either my freshman or sophomore year. I missed the bus and I didn't have a car at the time, so my mom had to drive me to school. The road my tiny neighborhood was off of was a long rural stretch that only had one equally tiny other neighborhood, a few houses here and there. It was 6 a.m. and still dark outside, and it was colder than a witch's tit. Well, then you know it's real cold, yo.
It's a bit nipply, but we'll just have to make the breast of it.
Nipply. As we were pulling out of our neighborhood, my mom and I both saw these 3 children in blue and white private school uniforms standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder at the entrance of the neighborhood on the sidewalk. Why am I getting Village of the Dan vibes? Damned vibes. Sorry, Dan, my friend.
Dan.
Poor Dan. It was either 2 girls and 1 boy or 2 boys and 1 girl. I don't remember the ratio, but the girl wore a blue and white skirt dress outfit, and the boy wore a blue short sleeve shirt with khaki shorts. This was weird for a few reasons. 1, it was 40 degrees outside. That's a real common theme. They don't dress for the weather. Like some of them wear hoodies in the summer.
Right.
Like they can't quite get or understand the weather situation. And so they dress either.
It's like it doesn't apply to them really.
Yeah. It's not only just sometimes the clothing is nondescript. So you can't tell like the styling, or it's out of style, or it's completely off weather wise, which is why sometimes when you look at these people, you know something ain't right. Even before they start talking, you know what I mean? You have that kind of fear of their vibe, but also you're looking at them like, there's something I can't put my finger on.
It's just wrong.
You remember later, like, why the fuck were they wearing shorts in 40 degrees?
So this was weird for a few reasons. 1, it was 40 degrees outside, like Kristi mentioned, which is just wrong when they're wearing shorts. They looked like they were dressed for the summer and didn't have coats or anything. Secondly, there were 2 schools in the area, but no private school till the next town over, and the blue and white were not the school's uniform colors. Third, what young kids just stand out there in a single file line, not doing anything but standing? You'd know they'd be messing around on their phones or whatever. So, yeah, right. Lastly, this wasn't where the bus stop was. It was just a few blocks down. Just a sprinkle of extra creepy on top for shits and giggles. There wasn't even any street lights. They were just standing in the dark, not doing anything except being creepy as hell, I guess. They were on the corner on the right, closest to the passenger side where I was sitting. And of course, we were turning right. As we got closer, I thought at first that they didn't have faces, but it was just too shadowy and dark out, and the headlights only shone under their shoulders, which is how I remember the outfits so vividly. Then we got closer, and I was relieved to see that they had faces, but then got completely freaked out all over again when I saw that their eyes were, say it with me, fam, completely all black. Like supernatural Sam and Dean fighting demons, black. My mom saw it before I did, and she put the pedal to the metal, and we hightailed it out of there. I remember trying to look back and see them, but I couldn't since it was too dark. My mom didn't get back home till the sun rose, and it was bright enough to not be scared. Of course, nobody believed me at school, and my siblings thought that we were full of it, but we know what we saw. We never saw them again after that, thank goodness. I thought that they were ghosts, but a few months after I heard about the black-eyed children on YouTube or something, or maybe on our podcast because we did a whole episode, I made that connection. We moved shortly after that due to unrelated reasons. This was 3 or 4 years ago, and I had blissfully forgotten until my mom said, "Hey, remember when?" And now I want to die. I hope my irrational anxieties and fear around children that are small enough for me to punt across a soccer field will become amusing at least. All right, so The next one. I see some mention of Harry Potter here, so this is all good things. When my sister and I were kids, we used to share a room, and we had bunk beds. She on the top bunk because she's older, and me on the bottom. My sister talks in her sleep. She used to sleepwalk around that time also. One night, I woke up to her talking in her sleep. She was talking about how excited she was because our mom brought her the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince book, and she was excited to find out what was going to happen next. And then I heard a man with a really croaky, deep, and aggressive voice say, "Do you think this is a fucking joke?"
Mm-mm.
And I looked up where my sister was and didn't say anything, but then I looked at our drawers from across the room. One of the drawers was half open, and I saw a big pair of reddish eyes in the open drawer staring at me with pure hatred. I was so scared that I pretty much cried myself to sleep. I ended up being scared to sleep in that bed for a long time. I also told my parents and sister about it a couple of years later, and she was scared and believed me, but my parents did not. So this person has a second story. This poor person has been through some shit. I was staying in an old schoolhouse while on a volunteer trip in Cambodia. Every night it sounded like someone was going through our bags, and it does look like it in the morning, even though we locked all the doors and the windows. My teammates thought that it was probably a skillful local thief, but nothing was ever stolen. On the final night, someone tried to wake me up from my sleep by talking close to my face and poking at me through my sleeping bag. When I finally gave up the pretense of sleeping because I was scared of waking up and seeing something or maybe seeing nothing, it was because my sleeping bag was sliding to the other side of the classroom that we were in. Imagine watching the sleeping bag I was in being dragged slowly over the concrete floor by nothing that you could see. Yeah, I screamed till everyone woke up and tried convincing me that I must have sleepwalked.
Hmm. Dun, dun, dun. I don't think so. When your ass is awake and you're sliding across the floor, nobody gonna tell you were fucking sleepwalking.
Yeah, I feel like look at where my sleeping bag is versus where it was. They're probably like, you did that. So, someone I lived with in 20...
I was like, I can take over if you need me to, if you're tired of reading, but that's good. Go for it, girl.
Okay, I can. This is a little one. This is just a little one, y'all. I like the big ones. Someone I lived with in 2014 was murdered on January 1st, 2018. That night, I had dreamed that someone we both know posted a video on Snapchat waving around a bloody knife and saying, "That's what happens when you fuck around." Mm-hmm. I woke up super panicked and confused because it wasn't reported anywhere yet on the news or in the media. To this day, I think I know who killed my friend, but I have absolutely no way of proving it.
That's nuts.
Damn.
That would suck, dude.
I can't imagine living with that.
Yeah. All right.
It's like some movie shit where you end up like, Scooby-Dooing it and messing with things.
Everybody was like, reported to the police. And they said they've actually called in a, where you anonymously report several times. But they're like, there's really no proof. Huh? Yeah. I mean,
probably have no evidence.
Yeah, there's no evidence. So they're like, what am I going to do? This is all I can do. Like, I've done what I can do. I've 3 times they said that they've called the police and they did an anonymous report that they think this person did it or look into this person. So what you going to do? Anyway, everybody's like, I'll be standing tuned to find out if anything comes of it. So, okay.
For sure.
This person is writing something about what happened to their mother. So this happened to my mom, and she told me about it. One night, she was on the phone with a friend of hers, and all of a sudden, she heard a noise in the room next to the living room. She said it sounded like bones breaking. Her friend she was on the phone with said, someone died. Sure enough, a few days later, she found out another friend of hers committed suicide. She also told me that she was never able to see a specific star constellation that we call the Big Wagon in Germany. When her dad died and she was visiting his grave, she looked up in the sky and the clouds were revealing the star constellation to her. She said she never cried this hard in her life. She thinks her dad showed her the star constellation. Aww. See?
That's really
That should be up in the wholesome. Sorry, I misread that one before.
You're like waiting for the spooky to come down.
So this is an interesting one. I've read these before. This person remembers dying, and they don't know if it's like another life or something like a dream. But so this said that my whole life I've had a vivid memory that I died. I currently live in a town a few hundred kilometers inland from the coast, which when you say kilometers, we know that is not in the United States, yo.
Nope.
Nobody talks about kilometers, and have been living here since I was 3. The memory goes as such. My family and I are looking at a fairly nice 2-story house to live at, which is on a hill close to the beach. In the memory, I do not recognize anyone, but have a feeling the people I am with are my family. I am also probably around 4 or 5 years old because I can walk, but small enough to look up high at the real estate agent's face. I remember walking outside on the veranda on the 2nd floor that is connected by the main kitchen. My siblings and I are eating kiwi fruit while looking at the view. I can still hear my parents talking to the agent inside the kitchen. I then leave to ask my parents for something, maybe another kiwi fruit, and then it happens. In the kitchen, there is a long rack high on top of the counter. A heavy metal pot falls and hits me directly on the forehead. I do not remember anything other than looking up. I am now 18 and for my whole life have a birthmark the size of my thumb directly above my right eyebrow. I am usually not one to believe in birthmarks related to previous lives, but I've pretty much been hiding this memory for my whole life, and those I have told either thought it was a cool idea or didn't believe me. So she's from another country. She said, excuse my grammar if I've done it correctly, but that's nuts.
I want to read this next one because it relates to the one I already read.
Yes, go for it.
Excuse me. Ooh, anyway, I just saw a black-eyed kid. So I was sitting in my car after work. I always have a cigarette in the car before driving home, and I usually crack open the window all the way. But it's in the middle of November in the UK at the moment, so I only cracked it open a little bit. I wasn't paying much attention when this kid, who looked about 14 or 15, came up to my window and knocked on it. He asked if he could get a lift to the train station. Now, the train station is only a 10-minute walk. So I said, I'm really sorry, mate, but I can't. I got to get home. But told him where the direction that he should go. And this time, the kid got more forceful and said, you have to let me in. I don't know where I'm going. I never saw the kid's face as he had a hood up. So I don't know for certain that he was a BEK, but I just remember feeling this sense of terror. So basically, I shook it off. I looked back in my rearview mirror, and the kid is just standing there staring at the car as I drove away. I'm shaking right now.
Yeah, I would too. That's what happens.
Yeah.
I always hear that like they put you under almost like a trance or like hypnosis in some weird way. So that seems like, even though he didn't see the black eyes, it seems like that's what he experienced. So here's another story. So I just moved into this house a couple of months ago. It's not a new house. It was built in 1900. My husband works from home and I go to school during the day. My husband told me a couple of times while he's in the basement, he's heard a little girl say, hello? He even had someone that was an Xbox party with him tell him he heard a little girl say hello in the mic when he got up to go to the bathroom. Holy shit! I haven't heard anything, she says. It's been about a month or so, and we haven't thought of this. Today, when I got home, I went into the basement to let the dogs out. When I opened the door to the room they're in, I see shreds of paper on the floor, and I'm starting to wonder, where did they get this from? The room's empty. I start picking up the pieces, and I start to really look into what it is. And it's a picture of a little girl who's around the age of 5 or 7. I don't know what to think of this. I don't know who else to talk to about this. So, girl, yeah, that's haunted.
Yeah, for sure.
So really quick, I had something really weird happen to me, and now I can't remember because I've had so many weird things happen to me that I've shared, that if I've talked about this, if I talked about the time that me and my mother and my cousin and my aunt.
Oh, the car, right?
Well, when we crossed the bridge and there was that crane, did I tell about that story? That's good.
Yes.
Okay,
Go
good.
ahead and tell it again for the listeners, though.
All
if
right.
They don't know.
You haven't heard this before. I don't know. One of these stories made me remember this. I was probably around 7 because I was playing with Barbies at the time. So I was trying to kind of put into perspective how old I was when I played with Barbies. I have a very bad memory of like ages. I have a hard time like ranging how old I was when things happened. I don't know why. Anyway, so we lived in New Mexico and we were driving to visit my grandma in Texas. And it was my mother and me, my cousin and her mom, who was my mom's cousin too. So they were cousins, and this was her daughter who was my cousin too. So me and my cousin, she was probably 3 or 4 years older than me. We're in the back seat, and my aunt was in the passenger side and my mom was driving. And first of all, New Mexico and the part of Texas where we were driving, which is Buffalo, we were driving to Buffalo Gap, Texas, which you can tell by the name, very small town in the middle of nowhere. These roads are small. We're talking country back road, lots of farmland, long drive, same shit over and over again for hours. So we get to this point. I remember playing in the back seat with my Barbies. And I was sitting in the back with my cousin, and we were just kind of messing around. I got my Barbies, and I don't know what happened. I could hear kind of a nervous sound or a nervous laugh, and I look over the seat because it was one of those long, like town cars where the front seats are kind of high. And when you're a little kid and you're sitting in the back, you're kind of low down. So I peek over the front seat from the back. And the first thing I see is my Aunt Linda. She's sitting in the floorboard, like looking at me, her head ducked down, like her head's ducked down. She's got her head like ducked, like hiding under the glove compartment. And she was a little lady. So, okay. And she's kind of looking up at me with this weird look on her face. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I look at my mother, and my mom is laying down in the seat. Like,
what?
And there's nobody's driving.
I don't think you have told this one before.
Nobody driving the car. Okay. I look up, and as I'm looking up, it all registers. And then later, my mom and aunt also talked about it. So it was like filled in kind of my misunderstanding of what the fuck was going on as a child. Because I hear my mom say, get down, or get down, or hit the floor or something. And I'm looking out the windshield, and so when you're on those country roads, you've got the 2-lane roads, but then for some reason, these idiots, when they made like bridges, small bridges, they go in where it's too narrow for 2 cars. And because it's a country road, it's not a big deal because people go in and out. You don't have to worry about oncoming traffic. Well, this just happened to be a time that there was a tractor on the road crossing that little bridge at the same time my mom was crossing. And the tractor was one of those kind that did like plowing the fields. And the back piece of it that was trailered on to the tractor was swinging back and forth. And it had those rotator blades on it. And it's coming straight towards our car. And so it's on the bridge, and my mom's about to get onto the bridge. And we're talking about a bridge that's like 15, 20 feet long. It's not a real bridge. It's like an indention, almost like an overpass, a tiny little overpass. And I like last minute ducked down. And all I remember after that is we hit the pavement on the other side of the bridge.
What the fuck? And
we all look up, and we look behind us, and the tractor was down, carrying on its way. Had crossed the bridge. None of us to the day that my mother could not even have memories anymore, know what happened, how we crossed that bridge without colliding into the tractor or the tractor piece in the back that was swaying back and forth. Nobody knows. We made it across without hitting that fucking tractor. There was no way. I mean, hello, my mom wasn't even driving the car. She was literally laying down in the seat of the car.
That's weird.
And we somehow made it across without hitting the tractor. So that happened.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes zero sense. It was bananas. And, as a kid, you remember something that's fucked up, but literally my mother and aunt talked about this for years after.
Yeah.
They don't know what happened. Of course, they were uber religious. So, and again, I don't fault that it couldn't be something that was religious, but it was their kind of like intervention, Jesus saved them type moment. So they, of course, talked about it all the time.
They're kind of proof or validation that was
totally.
a thing.
And I'm just like, my memory is looking over that seat and going, why is my aunt in the floorboard? And then turning and seeing my mom laying in the seat going, like kind of like making this weird sound and hit the floor, get down or something. And then I look up and see the tractor and I go down and then all we hear is the car hitting the gravel. Like, because it had run off the road after we crossed the bridge, when we have no idea how the fuck we crossed that bridge with that tractor there. So that happened.
Crazy.
That was bananas. And explain that, bitches.
Okay.
I don't know why my life is so fucked up, but it seems like every time I tell a story, like every time we talk about scary stories, I have one that I remember that happened. I don't know. It's bizarre.
I don't play one-upsmanship with you. Usually I'm the crazy one, but yeah.
You're an alien. We've all established that. I've got these weird fucked up things that's happened to me. I was a serial killer tried to pick me up and ended up killing somebody weeks after. Lived in a haunted house, grew up in Roswell. I mean, saw an exorcism. This happened. There's been so many things that I don't compute how they all happen to one person. It's bizarre.
When are you going to write them down, girl?
I've started making a list and I need to add this one to the list because I'm pretty sure I did not. This has got to be it. I've compartmentalized my life so much because I had kind of a shitty upbringing. So by doing that, it's separated a lot of weird shit that happened also in my life outside of my shitty upbringing. And therefore, I didn't really put it all together and add up how fucked up it all is. Like, whoa, how did this all happen to one person? That's bananas. So here we are.
Bananas.
Y'all get the more details when you buy the book. Patent pending.
Want to see the rest, buy the rights.
That's right. With that, Moni, do you have anything? Okay, so shit, by now, our story we're recording on Sunday will have already come out, so we can't really advertise that.
Nope.
You want to talk about our Patreon?
I will talk about our Patreon, and actually I need to send you a new video. I went to Proctor Valley Road, which is part of Proctor Valley Ranch, which is an extremely, apparently well known. It's right behind my house, paranormal area of San Diego County that is just rife with every kind of demon and crime story and everything. And it's backed up by some extremely beautiful newer housing developments, but it's still acres of land where may or may not be haunted, probably has multiple crimes up there just because it's a good place for human trafficking and drugs and that kind of stuff. I did venture up there. The video is very dark, but you can hear my narration, of course. Sorry, no boobies this time.
Boo!
I will be going back. I know, right? I will be going back in the daytime. We felt my husband and I we felt pretty darn unsafe up there because we saw groups of headlights and people up to no damn good. So we will go during the daytime and get a better feel. It's probably very beautiful in the daytime. It's just all wild area. And there's not a lot of that out in California, but I will send you that video, Kristi, to upload to our Patreon page. So you who subscribe to it will be able to exclusively watch it. And of course, our Patreon page is a way that we are helping keep the lights on, so to speak, for this show and to buy our trademarks so that we can protect ourselves legally from the freaking posers who try to steal our shit.
Yes, and there's many of them apparently, and we're not really fucking happy about it. So if we have a legal standing, we already have rights as we were the first one with our name. But if we have a trademark, we can get lawyers and make something happen versus just some empty threats that we were here first. So we want to get trademarked because, we love what we do. We've decided we want to kick it up a notch and continue. So why not get legit? Also, this money will cover any kind of other legalities like opening up an LLC so that we can, if we accept donations or any kind of monetary sponsorships or advertising, we don't want to do it under our own name. It needs to be under a business name for tax purposes. So it's all a bunch of fucking house cleaning, keeping the lights paid, and it's boring, but it's a necessity. And we've put a lot of money in this podcast already. Just getting equipment and paying for the postings, the storage online costs money every month. So we need some help. And honestly, this will kind of put us in that space where we're like, enough people care. They want to hear from us. Now it's official. We're going to make this shit even better, or it'll just give us a little bit of a wind beneath our wings to continue.
For sure. Because we've been doing some things behind the scenes to bring you higher quality shows, and we could use a little help with the amount of time and effort we're putting into this. And we love you guys, and we know you love us. So help us out a little here.
Yep. We love what we do daytime wise, but we also love this hobby and we want to keep it going. And honestly, it's just fair to you guys that we make it as quality as possible. So this is our want and effort to do that. And we have a lot of really awesome shit coming up in the 2020, and maybe some merch. I'd like to hear from you guys to see what you guys want to have, anything that you want a logo on or any show ideas. Please share our show with your friends, whether it's to hate listen or to listen because you love the stories. Totally cool with me. I don't really care. Hate listen all you want. With that, again, this is probably going to be released near Christmas, so I would just personally like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, whether you are sitting on your couch alone, watching TV, eating a Stouffer's dinner. We love you, and hang in there. Shit sometimes gets difficult in the holidays for people. I understand that, and I've been there, and so I just wanted to let you know that personally, we love you. And hang in there. Shit gets better. And also, please be kind to everybody who's working for the holidays. These people have to leave their families and leave their homes to come and serve or wait on you or listen to you fight over TVs in bins that are $5 off. And they deserve some respect and kindness too. So just be kind to everybody when you're out there. You never know what everybody's going through. Holidays are difficult. I used to also bartend during this time, and it was sad. I did it for the money, even though I had loved ones at home, but there were a lot of people that didn't have any loved ones, and it's a difficult time. So everybody be kind to each other, do something good for each other, get help the lady out, blow the snow off her patio, or carry somebody's groceries. Who are we blowing? Blow them all, girl. Go to town.
That's one way to do something nice for people.
I mean, yeah. Hey, no judgments. You do you, y'all. Let go crazy. I'm all about it. I try to be kind, especially during the holidays. It can be a dark time for people. So I won't harp on it, but I really do feel strongly about that. And if there's anything that we try to deliver here is understanding and kindness to people is important to all of us, really. I have empathy for everybody. I know definitely Moni does, and Yardley. So we just want to spread that message. That's the only thing. If you're going to do anything, that's one thing that you should do. So with that, Moni, would you like to share? You packing?
Oh, I'm going to go back to packing for my first snow, you guys, which, you know what? Laugh at me all you want that I've never seen snow. It's crazy to me that I know people who have never seen the ocean. So it's just kind of funny, the differences, and depending on where you live, how landlocked or whatever else you may be. So
absolutely.
Yes, I will enjoy my first snow. I will not be bringing my boobs out to play in the snow. I like to live. So
you never heard of boob angels?
No, actually, I have, but I don't know if my mother-in-law would appreciate it.
Never heard of them, but you should totally do it.
I made 10 angels on the lawn.
I used Moni's ignorance of snow and tried to convince her about boob angels. I win the internet today. Just like the lady.
I feel like this has to be a thing. I mean, even through your jacket. I'm going to try it. I'm going to patent this, and we're going to make money off
Boob angels.
That's it. We're done.
Patent pending. Y'all, Moni's found her new thing. Also, I tried to convince somebody when I was in my 20s, this girl, to go get her blinker fluid checked because she was taking her car to get her checked. And she literally argued with the people for 30 minutes that she will not be scammed. She knows that there's blinker fluid and she wants it checked immediately. And that was hysterical.
Well, that's one way to help women feel more comfortable when they go to the shop. You know,
you haven't educated yourself about a car.
Don't know shit.
Yeah, if you haven't,
my blinkers squirt. They're squirters. I swear.
If you haven't educated yourself about your car and you're driving it every day, okay, and let that be a lesson.
Myself about my snow boobs. So
well, hey, if you've never been around snow, what you gonna do? I mean, you are an angel, so you could just snow angel, but you can then put your
boob angels.
Just put your boobs.
You think
in
it's
there.
not a thing, but I'm gonna fucking make it a thing.
I think I can totally see you making it a thing, and that's what makes me love you so much.
Because if I lay straight on the ground and put my arms behind me, I am laying just straight on my boobs. That's a boob angel.
I can so see you going up to the snow, and there's all these people everywhere, and they're like, "Let's make angels," and you like pull your shirt down and fall face flat into the snow. And start like spreading your arms and legs like wings. Look, I'm making boob angels. And everybody's like, it's actually you lay on your back and your boobs don't have any part of it. And you're like, says who?
Yeah, exactly. Kristi says I could do this. So.
I love it. You want to tell us where your socials are so people can find you online and look at your boob angels?
Yeah, find me and my boobies and my snow boobie angels and whatever else happens at Moni Bear, MoniBarre on Instagram and Twitter.
Excellent. I am Creepin' at Kristi on Instagram, and I've got a bunch of followers lately. You're really silent, so hi, welcome. Thank you for following me.
Seeing us, seeing you. So
getting lots of Twitter activity too. We're on Twitter at creepin_it. And I shout out to a couple of different people on there. Ron and the Red Slasher and who else? There's a couple. Ben. So thank you guys for interacting and chiming in on some good horror and paranormal and true crime shit. So that's fun. We like that. Please come say hi. That's what we're advertising our socials for. So with that, Moni, I bid everybody adieu. Would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, merry happy holidays and shit. And goodbye, creepers.